Hello and welcome. Happy New Year. I think we can still say that. I know this is the 8th of January. For anyone who is watching and doesn't know who I am, my name is Yvonne Akimoden. I'm a career coach and I work with people over 40 who are seeking a career change. So today's session is going to be focusing on CVs, or resumes, as our colleagues in the US refer to them. A CV or a resume, whatever you choose to call it, as most of you will know, is a piece of paper that just sets out a summary of your accomplishments in terms of your career. And for a lot of us, we find that quite a challenge in terms of trying to put that together. And some of the reasons we find that a challenge, especially for people who have been working for a long period of time, maybe you've got a lot of experience, you've got 20 plus years of experience. Your questions or your challenges sometimes might be, how do I present that in the CV? I get people asking questions like that. I also find people asking questions about, what kind of information should I have on my CV? How do I gather the right information, the information that's going to be relevant, and the information that's going to catch the eye of the recruiter? So my experience as somebody who has been recruiting for many years, well over 20 years, is what I'm going to share with you today, some of my top tips and some of the things that I think will really help you stand out from the crowd, and that will really help you engage with people who might be looking for your skills, so that when you're applying for those roles, you really are applying and addressing your skill set to the role that you're applying for. So let's just spend a few minutes just going through some of the top questions that I often get asked by people about their CVs and resume. So the first one, which I'm going to talk about, is around, people often say, how long should a CV be? And this is a very common question. And it's a question that you might think, well, is there a right or a wrong answer? One thing I can tell you is that when you are recruiting for roles, as someone who has sat behind a desk and had to recruit for roles, sometimes as a recruiter, you have in your possession for one job over 40 applications, sometimes more. I've recently recruited for a role, we had 68 applications. So sometimes you have a huge number of applications for roles. So for somebody who has that number of applications, what you're looking for is the key points. You don't have time to sit there and read everything. There are statistics out there and they vary, and people often say the average amount of time that is spent looking at a CV is a recruiter spends on a CV is no more than 2 minutes. I don't know whether that's true. Sometimes it might be 2 minutes, sometimes it might be 5. But one thing I can assure you is that when you have a lot of applications in front of you, you don't spend a huge amount of time looking at them because you don't have the time. And especially if you are a pure recruiter and you have a number of roles that you're filling, you don't have time. What you're looking for is keywords on that application. So when people submit a CV, and I kid you not, I have seen some people submit a 10-page CV. People don't have time to read it. People do not have time to sit and read a 10-page CV. We all live busy lives. Recruiters are no less busy than anybody else. So to have a CV of that length, you can be assured that it won't get read. What people want is something that is short, to the point, and grabs the attention of the recruiter. So my recommendation is a CV should be no more than 2 sides of A4. If your CV is going beyond that, the question you need to ask yourself is, what is it that I'm saying that is relevant here? and how can I cut down on what I've written so that I'm covering the points that are most relevant and most likely to grab the attention of the recruiter. So a two-page CV is really what you're aiming for. So the next question that follows on from that, and it's perhaps a very natural follow-on question from the first one, is, okay, that's fine, 2 pages. I've got 20 years worth of experience. How on earth do I take 20 years of experience and summarize that into 2 sides of A4? Well, the answer to that is that you do just that. You summarize and you look at what is most relevant. Now, if you have been working for more than 10 years, more than likely the experience you have that was 15 or more years ago is not going to be the most pertinent. Perhaps 15, 20 years ago, you were in a more junior role. You've moved up the ladder, you've progressed. Things have changed. The way in which you worked 15, 20 years ago is not how you're working now. The accomplishments that you achieved 15, 20 years ago are not the things that people are necessarily looking for in today's job market. So what you do is you take those areas where you have experience that spans maybe the first 10 years and you focus on those. The experience that takes you beyond that period of time are things that you don't focus on for the purpose of your CV. You summarize. So you might say between the period of 1992 to 2002, I occupied a range of roles that covered, and you summarize and you put a summary of the key achievements that you achieved in that period of time. So what were the things that you really pulled out and you were successful at delivering in that period? And you summarize them, and that forms the bottom part of your CV. What you then focus on are the things that are most relevant to your CV today. What are the things that are most relevant to your CV today? What are the things that people are most looking for on your CV now? So what are the skills, experience, and information that you bring to the role that you're applying for? And those are the things that start to become the areas that you focus on. So you can see immediately that if you do that, it accomplishes 2 things. It drastically reduces the length of your CV because you're not putting maybe 10 or more years worth of knowledge on there that nobody's going to read or necessarily be that interested in. You're also focusing on the things that people really want to see. What is it that people really want to see? What do they really want to know about you? And those are the things that you're focusing on. And those are the things that are going to grab the attention of the person who is reading your CV. Right, the next question and area that I want to focus on is the very top of your CV, the very first, the headline of your CV. Now, with your CV, the things that are really important to focus on, number 1, is obviously your name and your contact information. That needs to be at the top of your CV, because if someone is interested in your CV, they don't want to scan it to find contact information. And I know that might sound obvious, but sometimes people feel that they should lead with their experience. People want to know who you are and they want to know how to contact you. So always have that and make sure that it's visible and really accessible to the person reading your CV. So that should be the top part of your CV. And the next bit of information that should be on your CV is the key skills that you have. And you don't have to list many. No more than 6, maybe 8 are the key skills that you bring. Because what you have to remember is your CV is a sales letter, in effect. And what people are looking for is to understand what it is that you can do for them. They're not necessarily interested at this point in time about what accomplishments you have. What they're interested in is, this is what I can bring to this role. These are the things that I have, and therefore these are the things that I can offer you that will make a difference to your organization. And it's about really looking at not necessarily buzzwords. So people are not looking for words like team player. They're looking more for somebody who is a skilled and confident communicator. That would be a better thing to put down, because that might be something that they're looking for. If you have technical skills, if that's pertinent to the role that you've gone for, people want to see that. So those are the things. So it's really short keywords that are pertinent to the job. Take your time and look through the job description and try and pull out some of the keywords that they might be looking for that are relevant. So if you are a leader, for instance, you put that down as one of your key skills, strong leadership skills, experience at managing change, if that's something that's relevant. So leading teams, dealing with conflict, high sales figures from managing sales teams, or whatever it might be. Those are things that people want to see, because the person who's put out that job, that's what they're looking for. They want to know that they're going to find someone who will come in, maybe lead a team, manage conflict, maybe bring some technical skills to the fore, somebody who will have experience of leading others, somebody who is an effective communicator. Those are all the sorts of things that people are really looking for. And those are the things that need to be the forefront of your CV. So, because if you put those words there, it immediately draws the eye of the recruiter. They've not had to really look in any great detail at this point. They've just looked at the top of your CV and they've seen some of the key words. Now, as they drill down and look into your CV, they're going to look for other things, of course. They're going to look at job titles. They're going to look at a summary of maybe the jobs that you've had and what you've done in those jobs. And they're going to look for key achievements. So those things will come. But the immediate thing that will grab their attention is, what skills do you bring? What skills do you have at this point? So those are some of the things that really need to be at the top of your CV. So I'm just going to look, because there's a few more questions I think that people often ask. One of the other ones that I get asked quite a lot is, how do you deal with gaps in employment? Now, years ago, a lot of people made redundant. People in the 2008-2009 recession, people were made redundant. That happened a lot, and I know people personally that found it really difficult to get back into the job market, and so it was not uncommon to find that people were having gaps of 6 months, a year, or more. And for some people, the gaps were deliberate. Sometimes people had things going on in their personal life. Maybe they spent time away from work raising children. Maybe they spent time looking after elderly relatives. Whatever the reason for it, they were away from the workplace for quite a significant period of time. Now, people get concerned about how they describe that, and you shouldn't be. The thing to do there is really confront that right up front. If you've had a gap and you have been unemployed, then say so. What you can also say, however, that is even better, is perhaps you haven't been in employment, but you might have been using that time to do something. So, for example, maybe you've been volunteering in your spare time. Perhaps you've been helping out at your local school, your local church. Maybe you've been helping other people who are running a business, and you've been doing some bookkeeping for them. I know a number of people who've been out of work And what they do to fill the time is they go out and they volunteer. And they never put any of that on their CV because they think it's not relevant. Well, it is, because what it shows is that you've got initiative and you are somebody who goes out there to try and make a difference. So those things are important. But if you have been out of work, there's no way of hiding that. They're going to ask you. So don't leave a gap. So if you have been out of work, confront that and put that on your CV. Be upfront about it. I was unemployed between X, Y, or Z date. Because if you don't address that and you stay silent, what happens is it raises questions in the mind of the person reading your CV. And sometimes you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. They don't invite you to interview, so you don't get the opportunity to explain the fact that actually I was unemployed, I was actively job seeking, but I couldn't find work. People don't ask that, they assume. So you want to be the one taking the lead and saying you were actively seeking work, you were not able to find work at that point, and that's why you have that gap. So those are some of the things that you really need to be upfront about. There's no point hiding that. So those are the questions that I wanted to address today on today's Facebook Live. I hope you found them useful. I hope you found them to be of value. And I hope you find that if you apply those tips when you fill in your CV, it will really help make a difference. So I'd like to thank you for watching this video, and please, if you're not already in our Facebook group, I've put the link in this video. Please feel free to join our Facebook group, Career Changers Over 40. We'd love to see you in there, and I hope that you have a wonderful and successful 2018. Thank you.